Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, the first college football video of the season, the 2025 season. So, some years I've started off with week 0. Other years I've done this topic ahead of time. So this Saturday we have week 0 of the college football season, and then next week we have full banking games in week 1, and then we're off and running till the bowl games and New Year's Day and the championship on that Monday after. So what I'm doing here is a radical realignment of college football, NCAA, FBS college football. So right now there are 136 teams, including the 2 teams that are transitioning to FBS. There are currently 11 conferences. We know the big changes coming from last year to this year. We know the Pac-12 got emptied out between the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10. We know some big teams went to the Big 10. Washington, USC, UCLA. Texas is going to the SEC. We know Oklahoma to the SEC. That's going to be wild. Arizona and Arizona State to the Big 12. So yeah, there's a lot of changes going on. So the Pac-12 literally has 2 teams left, and they're going to play. The majority of their schedule is going to be a Mountain West schedule. So, and then we know the playoffs are going to be 12 teams. I honestly think between 8 and 10 of those 12 will still be the Power 5 conference teams. So my radical realignment kind of gets away from that. So we have currently 11 conferences, 69 teams, one of the Power 5 conferences, 67 non-Power 5 conferences. I took all those 136 teams, made 8 conferences, 16 divisions. So we play 11 game season. We have 3 non-conference games. 1 of those non-conference has to be against the FCS, and then 2 non-conference games. 11 conference games, 6 versus your other division in your conference, and 2 against your division. Now I know this year, like Michigan's playing a 12-game regular season, you can change it to 9 conference games. But I like the 11-game regular season and the 4-game playoff. So we have 4 rounds in the playoffs. So the first round we have the conference championship games. The second round we have the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the playoffs. So what I've done with the bowl games here is the conference title game, which is 16 conference division champions for the 8 conferences, 8 bowl games. So we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Las Vegas, Gators, Citrus, Liberty, Independence, Holiday, and RiaQuest. Those are your conference championship bowl games to decide who your 8 conference champions are. Your quarterfinal playoffs are going to be those 8 conference champions playing one another. So Sugar Bowl, Peach Bowl, Fiesta, and Sun. The winners out of there will play in the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. The winners of both of those will play in the Rose Bowl. And then, from your conference title games, the division champion that lost, they will get their own bracket for bowl games. Second place in each division will have a set of bowl games, and then third place will have a set of bowl games. So that's 39 bowl games in total. Right now there's 41. Obviously you can add teams to that and get to your 41 or 40 or whatever bowl games you want. The idea is not to have teams under 500 in a bowl game. Now, the 8 conferences are done by regions. So we have the Atlantic, which would be kind of where your Conference USA is today. The Great Lakes, which is kind of the Big 10 today. Gulf Coast, which is kind of your SEC. Mid-Atlantic, which is kind of the American. Midwest, kind of the Big 12 area. Northeast, kind of the ACC area. The Pacific, kind of your Pac-12 area. And then the South, kind of the Sun Belt area. Now, in each of those conferences, there's going to be 2 divisions. So in the Midwest, we have a West Conference, or West Division, and an East Division. So Midwest, in the West Division, we have Air Force, Colorado, Colorado State, Kansas, Kansas State, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wyoming. On the east part of the Midwest, we have Illinois, Iowa, Iowa State, Missouri. One of 2 teams that are transitioning next year to the FBS, Missouri State. North Illinois, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. The Northeast, we have a North and the South division. The North division will be Army, Boston College, Buffalo, Rutgers, Syracuse, Temple, UConn, UMass. The South will be Delaware, which is the other team that's transitioning from the FCS to the FBS. James Madison, Marshall, Maryland, Navy, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Virginia, and West Virginia. The Atlantic in the North will be Clemson, Coastal Carolina, Georgia, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Kansas State, and South Carolina. The Atlantic Conference South Division is Florida International, Florida, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, Miami, South Alabama, South Florida, and University of Central Florida. The Great Lakes, their North Division will be Bowling Green, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Toledo, West Virginia. The Great Lakes South Division will be Akron, Ball State, Indiana, Kent State, Miami of Ohio, Ohio State, and Purdue. The Pacific North Division will be Washington, Washington State, Utah, Utah State, Oregon, Oregon State, Nevada, UNLV, BYU, and Boise State. The Pacific South Division would be California, Fresno State, San Diego State, Hawaii, San Jose State, Stanford, UCLA, USC, Arizona State, and Arizona. The Southwest Division will be New Mexico, New Mexico State, North Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas State, Tulsa, and UTEP. The East will be Baylor, Houston, Rice, Sam Houston State, SMU, Southern Methodist University, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas State, and University of Texas San Antonio. The Gulf Coast West will be Arkansas, Arkansas State, Louisiana, Louisiana Monroe, Louisiana Tech, LSU, Southern Mississippi, Tulane. The Gulf Coast East will be Alabama, Auburn, Jacksonville State, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Troy, UAB. The Mid-Atlantic West will be Appalachian State, Cincinnati, Kentucky, Louisville, Memphis, Middle Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Western Kentucky. The Mid-Atlantic East will be Charlotte, Duke, East Carolina, Liberty, NC State, North Carolina, Old Dominion, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. So I've organized all 136 teams by region. And with doing that, you would save some of these teams. So right now, with the exit of the Pac-12, you have Big Ten schools from coast to coast. I kind of made everything more regional. That way, you have more regional big games. You have the schools kind of by each other. You can have more regional rivalries. Now, we already know Auburn and Alabama have a rivalry. We know that. We know Ole Miss and Alabama have a rivalry. But with this, you have Arkansas kind of right there. You have LSU kind of. We've already had that rivalry because of the SEC, but you have more. It's more regional now. Just like in the Pacific, you have Washington State, Utah State. So you have that Pacific Northwest. Those teams are kind of all together, so they can have a big time regional rivalry. You got the Iowa State, Missouri State, Missouri, Nebraska, back in the old Big Ten days, Missouri, Kansas. Hell, you can have the Missouri-Kansas game at Arrowhead in Kansas City. You could have the Illinois-Missouri game in the Dome in St. Louis. So I like having the regional rivalries, and most of the current conferences have their own networks. So you could just kind of, like I said before, you take, the Big Ten Network, Great Lakes region, SEC Network, Gulf Coast. They kind of intertwine because of where the main part of the area is now. But I think travel-wise, it's going to be better. It's going to have more of the regional rivalries. You're going to have people who can maybe go to more games then. And so if you live in Iowa, you might be able to go to a game in Missouri or Northern Illinois or Wisconsin versus driving to Washington State or to Syracuse. So, but that is the radical realignment with the 8 conferences, 16 divisions. You don't need to worry about having the rankings to determine who's in the playoffs and who's not, because you play it on the field. You have your 16 division champions. You create You get your 8 conference champions from that. You have 4 winners from that. And then you can do the rankings and kind of rank them as you go for the playoffs. Then you have a clear-cut path to the championship. But as we get ready for the 2024-2025 college football season, that is the NCAA Radical Realignment. Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for Week 0 preview coming soon. Same way next week with NFL. We are week and a half. NFL Week 1. I may get back into CFL as well. If you're new to Robert Sports Show, welcome. Cover pro wrestling, NASCAR, and football right here on Robert Sports Show. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a 50-day Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports center content.